Welcome in, guys, to Cozy's Ghost Adventures. Today I'm going to tell you a camping story. Pretty creepy. It was a crisp autumn evening when a group of friends decided to head out to the remote lake for a camping trip. The lake was secluded, sitting deep in the heart of the forest, 13 miles from the nearest trailhead. The only way in and out of this lake was a winding dirt path, which was the perfect escape for Jeffry and his friends. After setting up camp by the edge of the lake, they spent their evenings around the campfire, swapping stories and roasting marshmallows under the starry sky. The cold mountain air was fresh. The sounds of the forest at night were eerie, but peaceful. Eventually, they all retired to their tents, except Jeffry, who decided to stretch out on the beach and stare up at the stars. He had always been the one to enjoy the quiet solitude of nature, early morning fishing, all that good stuff. So while the others were tucked away in their tents, Jeffry drifted off to sleep on the cool, soft sand. Hours later, my Jeffry awoke with a sudden urge to use the outdoor toilet. A small outhouse a short walk from the camp. With the moon high in the sky, casting a silvery glow on the trees, he stumbled groggily out of his sleeping bag and made his way toward the structure. Still half asleep, and trying to shake off the remnants of his dream. As he stepped into the outhouse, his heart still racing from the weird dreams that he was having, the hairs on the back of his neck stood up on end. Something felt off. He dismissed it at first. The night was quiet. Too damn quiet. But he chalked it up as his overactive imagination. Then, as he sat there, he heard something. A crackling noise from the bushes nearby. At first, he thought it was just a bear, which would still be alarming, obviously. The area being known for having them, of course. He froze, his heart was pounding, and he was listening. The noise grew louder and louder and louder and louder. The bushes shook, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps. Something was moving in Jeffrey's direction, and I can tell you, it was big and it was heavy. Jeffrey held his breath, trying to make himself as small as possible. His mind raced. Bears didn't usually come this close to camp from his experiences. He's been at this camp for over 30 years. Maybe it was a deer or another animal. He tried to convince himself. But then, a low growl rumbled from the shadows, and a massive shape emerged from the trees. Jeffrey's eyes widened as he saw the creature. It was a towering figure covered in thick, matted dark fur with long arms that hung nearly to its knees. The moonlight illuminated its massive, broad frame, and for a moment, Jeffrey and the creature locked eyes with each other. He could see its face, thick, broad nose, deep-set eyes, and a mouth full of teeth. The creature's head tilted to the side as it studied him, sniffing the air. It wasn't growling in anger, but more in curiosity. Jeffrey's mind raced, and terror surged through him. His body was frozen solid. The creature seemed to notice this, getting even closer to Jeffrey. Now there standing a mere foot away from the outhouse that he was in. His heart pounded in his chest. His only thought was that he was going to die tonight. Whatever this thing was, it was far too big for him to outrun, and there was no way he could fight it. He was trapped. He slowly backed against the wall of the outhouse, praying and hoping the thing would go away, hoping that the flimsy walls would provide some kind of protection for him. The creature leaned in a little closer, now sniffing the air around him, and Jeffry could feel its breath. It was so close that he could feel the heat radiating from its massive body. Then, for what felt like an eternity, it just stood there, staring at him. Jeffry was absolutely paralyzed with fear, his eyes fixed on the creature as his mind screamed at him to move, to do anything. But his body refused to listen. The creature made no further movements, just continuing to stand and watch, like it was trying to make sense of him. Suddenly, a sound came from the direction of the campfire. It was a voice. Jeffry couldn't make out the words, but it was enough to startle the creature. It froze for a moment, then turned and began to retreat to the forest, its heavy footsteps fading into the night. Jeffry stayed right where he was, his body trembling uncontrollably, until the last of the noise from the creature disappeared. Only then did he slowly, cautiously stand up. He didn't waste a second, bolting from that damn outhouse and running as fast as he could back to the camp. When he returned, gasping for breath, his friends were still awake, their faces filled with concern. Jeffrey's face was pale, his eyes wide with fear. "What happened?" one of his friends asked. Jeffrey, still shaking, could barely get the words out. There was something out there. Not a bear. Something else. It was huge. It was a Bigfoot. The others chuckled nervously, thinking he was just shaken up from the dark woods and the quiet of the night. But Jeffrey knew exactly what he had seen, and he wasn't about to forget it. He spent the rest of the night awake, staring into the forest, waiting for the first light of dawn. When the sun finally rose, its warmth felt like a blessing to Jeffrey, and he made a vow that he'd never, ever, ever again let himself wander so far into the woods that late at night. The end! Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Catch you on the next one. Peace.